Right, I think we're here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Goals Do Come True with me, Doug Bennett. Today, I'm joined by Charlie Garnham. Now, she's a human design expert, helping entrepreneurs understand their unique self so that they can create an effortless visibility strategy and share their brilliance with the world. You could say she's your human design loving, imposter syndrome crushing business and marketing strategist. Well, there we go. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to hand over to Charlie. She's going to fill us in a little bit more on that piece of information I've provided for you, tell you a little bit more about what she does, how she can help you with your goals and make them come true. Charlie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Doug. And thanks for the great introduction as well. It's great to be here. Where do I start? Human design is just something that not that many people know about it. So perhaps maybe I should start with a little bit of an introduction into what it is so that you can all start to understand a little bit. So human design is the most accurate personality test that you will ever take. My story behind personality tests is that I actually took I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like the colors test where you have 4 colors as like your main personality and you'll get like high in one color and then not so much in another color. And I remember taking this test about 6 months after I had been rescued from redundancy at my corporate job. And I felt as though I was a little bit inadequate at that time because I wasn't quite sure if I should be in that job. And I just remember taking this test, and obviously this test is all about filling out the questions. So you have multiple choice questions and you kind of fill it out. And I just remember really trying to be who my employer wanted me to be in this new role. So I'm pretty sure that those answers kind of got a little bit skewed. And sure enough, when the results came out, it turned out that I was a very high red, which is an extrovert and a leader, very nearly high yellow, which is again an extrovert but a creative person, and then not so much on the blue and the green. Have you ever taken that colours personality test, Doug?
I think it's called DISC. It might be called DISC, and I have. I'm a high yellow, and I think the C stands for compliance, and I'm in financial services, which is highly compliant, and I scored 0 in compliance, which is a little bit concerning. However, I've got an amazing team behind me that tidy up behind me so that what we end up with is completely compliant. But even though I'm not compliant, but so I'm aware of DISC, and there's a few others, but I was intrigued by this human design thing.
Sure. And I think really, as I sat there and looked around at the other people who were high red, I just thought to myself, I'm not like these people at all. So I really sort of discounted a lot of personality tests. But when I found human design 3 years ago in 2020, I could not believe how accurate it was. So human design, unlike other traditional personality tests, is actually based on your time and place of birth. And you don't actually have to fill out any questions at all, which means your ego mind can't overtake what you think you should be. And this is where I'd like to take the conversation today, is conditioning that we all have as children with our teachers, parents, etc., and the conditioning that we have now maybe in the business world of who we think we should be or what we think we should do and what goals we think we should set. That's just a little bit about human design. Have you got any questions at the moment about it?
I do. What if you don't know what time you were born, right? And your mum and dad have both passed away, so there's nobody to ask. How accurate does it become then?
So human design does have to be very accurate, but it depends on how deep you want to go down in your chart. So for example, with my time of birth, I was told I was born at 2:00 in the afternoon. And actually it turns out over the years, I've rectified my own time of birth, and I was actually born at 2 minutes past 2, which is very, very accurate. Depending really on what has happened, like in the skies and everything else that comes into human design around the time you were born, it might not be too much of an issue that you don't know your accurate time of birth, as long as maybe it's within a few hours. You can have a rectification done, which astrologers will do. And in some areas, some counties, etc., they do have a record of your time of birth, sometimes on your birth certificate, sometimes at the hospital, just all depending on how the council, specifically in the UK, has organised it.
I know the hospital that I was born in has been demolished and turned into houses or flats, so my chances are becoming slimmer, it would seem. But I have to have a think about that. There's an outside chance an aunt or an uncle could have a little note from my mum saying he turned up at this time.
There's usually a story around the birth. So if you're a second or third child, sometimes they tell a story of your brother was in school that day and then they came and visited you later on after school, or, you know, arrived really early in the morning and we were all up because they were in labour, etc. So there's usually a story around it. And if you can pinpoint it within a few hours, then it's usually able to get it right.
I was the firstborn. I'm messing things up here. Yes. Right. Let's assuming we know our time of birth. So now this to a lay person sounds a little bit woo-woo, and I'm okay with that, because developed over the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, once you start meeting people and you give yourself the opportunity and the thought process to be more open about things, then all of a sudden conversations come about. You will find yourself going goosebumply, because it's like, well, hold on a second, how could you possibly know that piece of data about me when I've only known you for, like, I don't know, 20 minutes? I'm leaning towards it. But I imagine that the vast majority of people probably are skeptical.
Absolutely, completely. I think it's right to be skeptical as well, because we need to think about what's gone into this and think, some of us are logical, some of us are strategic, so actually it could be that we're skeptical and we don't believe this stuff. But what I always say to people is that just almost have an open mind around it, because what I say to you in your reading is so accurate, you just can't do anything but believe the system. And I think, like, you know, I do have a lot of people that come to me who are skeptics, and they actually class themselves as non-spiritual. Mm-hmm. And they love their reading, they think it's amazing, they can change things in their lives to make their lives a bit happier or a bit easier, change things in their business to make things a bit easier there as well. And I think there are some people out there who will have a closed-minded feeling around it, and that's okay, because human design is a system that it doesn't have like a god or anything that you worship or a faith or anything like that around it. And the system is always you. So even if I say to you, oh, Doug, you have X, Y, and Z in your chart, it would be great for you to go and do this, this, or this. You might be like, actually, this doesn't feel right to me right now. But in 10 years' time, it might suddenly come into place. So it's a very much a UD system.
I like that. Where I could see this lending itself is to people that maybe are not sure what it is they were designed for. They maybe haven't got their purpose established. Mm-hmm. I think that would be my immediate thought process, is like, right, so you're the phrase is a wandering generality, and you want to become a meaningful specific.
Yeah.
Right. I think this is the sort of thing that could help, and also help with people's goals. Now, this is the Goals Do Come True podcast, so I'm going to maybe take you away from where you might have been going, which of course we can come back to. But how can this help people achieve their goals?
So when I was just like listening to your podcast and thinking of how I can fit in, I think it was very, very clear to me that human design is a great system to help you understand where you have been conditioned in life. Just to add a little bit of a story in here. I'm actually a type in human design that is not designed to be on the go constantly, to work really long hours. Not that anybody should be designed to work long hours, right? And I'm not designed to have this very just continuous work ethic, basically. I'm actually designed to rest, spend a lot of time in nature. And this instantly was something that really, really helped me, because in my corporate career, I was working 10 hours a day. I was also trying to have an affiliate marketing side hustle as well. I was just trying to work and trying to do and just trying to just push and prove myself. And the human design system has helped me to really step back away from that and just come into my true self. So if we relate this to goals, if we think about the conditioning that we have in our lives from parents and teachers, but also government, media, social media, very specifically, especially in the business world, it's like, you know, you might have a look at somebody on LinkedIn or Instagram and they're saying, oh, you can have £100,000 a month in your business if you want to. And I think people get drawn towards that because they can share the lifestyle of what you can have with that amount of money. But actually, do you really want that amount of money? Do you really want to work that hard to get that kind of business? And human design can help you to understand where you have been conditioned, where you're trying to prove yourself beyond anything at all, and where you can really start to come back to your true self and start to use your own authority to decide what you want to do in life and what your goals are in life as well.
That's very important. Goals. That simple statement on its own, your goals. So very often the goals are foisted upon us. Either if we work in the corporate world, or you're in a relationship and there's an obligation type situation to achieve, and you're never going to hit somebody else's goals.
Exactly.
It's just impossible. So you've got to learn what your goals are and embrace whatever it takes for you to achieve your goals. I do like that. So what else would you? I sense there's something bubbling. So I'm going to hand over to you and let you go free rein on what's bubbling inside you.
Awesome, thank you. So I think really the next part is that I want to explain a little bit about the first part of human design that someone learned, and how each of those types of people can sort of have a goal in mind. Because when we set goals, and again, this is another thing that's been conditioned in society, it's like, oh, we must set goals that are smart. So they have to be this, that, and the other. And sometimes that's a masculine way of doing things. And even as a woman, that's not a problem to have a masculine sort of goal. But there are, according to your type in human design, you may sort of set your goals differently according to who you are, basically. So, like I said, the type is the first thing that you learn in human design, and there's only 5 types in the world, and you're kind of sitting there thinking, well, human design is about differentiation and how you're unique, right? And how can there be only 5 types? Well, actually, human design is what's underneath those types. It's all the nuances and subtleties beneath the type. Just to keep things simple, with each different type that we have in human design, we can really start to understand how we are designed to set goals as well. So I'm going to go through the types with you, and I've just literally got a sentence on each one of them. So most of the world that we know of today is a generator type. So we're either generators or manifesting generators, and that makes up 70% of the world. Now, if you are a generator as opposed to a manifesting generator, then you are designed to master your craft. So when you're setting goals, you need to be really setting goals that can focus you very much into mastering that craft, so that you are the expert, but you're also probably the expert of experts as well. So you're really here to master that. Now, if you're a manifesting generator, you do have that consistent life force energy that generators have, but you are actually here to be multi-passionate. So when you're here to set goals, you actually might have maybe 3 or 4 different headings of different hobbies or things that you really love. And instead of mastering that craft necessarily, that's just the one thing, you might have several different things you want to master. So you might be multi-passionate and you want to really get those goals set for all of those things that you love. The next one that we have is the projector. So projectors are 20% of the world. I'm actually a projector myself. And we are actually a very different type of human being. We're very unusual. Sometimes you can call out a projector in a room because they're a little bit weird, a little bit quirky potentially, and their energy is a little bit funny sometimes. Projectors actually, because we're very intrinsically connected with nature, it's great for a projector to set goals that is to do with how they feel rather than a monetary goal or something like that, because our signature is about success. So if we are able to guide others to success, then their success becomes our success, and then that is our goal. So it's important to set a goal that's to do with feelings when you're a projector. Next one is the manifester. So the manifester is only 9% of the world, and manifestors are natural born leaders, but they do not like being told what to do. They're very, very independent. So you can't tell a manifestor what to do. Manifestor is all about how much impact that you're having on the world. So a manifestor's goal is to measure that impact that they're having. So you can have monetary goals if you're a manifestor, or even things like podcast views, YouTube views, or something like that, because you need to measure the impact that you're having on the collective.
So we've got 70% was the first one, then 20%, that's 90, then 9%.
Yep.
We're up to 99%.
That's correct. There's 1% left.
But we've still got 2 left.
So the generators and manifesting generators, they both together make up 70%.
Oh, I see. Right.
So they're about 33 and 37% individually, and they make up. Got you. Because I was thinking, crikey, we've really got through everybody already. So the 1% then, they're reflectors. Very unusual, again, very unusual people. They're actually very connected with the moon as opposed to the earth, but it's a very spiritual way of saying that. But they are unusual. They're actually called the evaluator in the business and marketing side of human design. So they can actually evaluate what's going wrong and what's going right. If you are a reflector, then because you are someone who is a leader, usually of a group of people in some way, your goal setting should be the goals of the people that you're leading. So again, it's not necessarily about monetary goals or the numbers that you're doing. It's about how you're feeling, and also about how the group's feeling as well, and their success.
Oh, I see that. So if you meet somebody, can you get a good feeling for where they are, the type of person that they might be?
So yes, I can usually.
Or do we? Because I know that you've got a thing which tells people more about this sort of thing available on your website, and make sure that is definitely available in the show notes. And I'm guessing that would lead on to, if you're more interested in this, get a reading. Yep, that's right. But go off and find your actual time of birth if you can. Is the first thing, yeah. That would be the critical thing. So you go into a room, right? So you've studied this, and you look around, you see certain people. Yep. Can you reasonably accurately determine the type of person that they are? Yes, most of the time, because obviously 70% of the world are the generators and manifesting generators. These are people that do have a lot of energy usually, and it's because there is 70%, I can tell, because I'm the kind of person that takes in that energy from someone else. I can tell whose energy that I'm taking in. Like one of my traits is that I am very, very focused. I can actually see into other people a lot deeper than other people can. So I can see where things are going wrong or things are going right. And then I can feel the energy as well of people. Fortunately, there are a lot of people out there who are unaligned to their true selves. So sometimes I might get it completely wrong because they might be acting out of alignment. But that's okay, because I can help them come back. So that's where I was going to go, and bringing people back. So what are the real issues of working out of alignment or being out of alignment with? Each type actually has what we call like a not self word, like a keyword.
And when we feel like this, then that is just our signpost to go, right, I'm not in alignment, so I need to get back into alignment. I need to do something. So for generators and manifesting generators, if you guys feel frustrated, then that is just that little key to go, something's happening here. What can I do to shift myself back into doing what I love? And when I do what I love, I get lit up, I get energy and everything like that. If you're a projector, then it is bitterness. If you're a manifestor, then you'll be angry. And if you're a reflector, then you'll be disappointed.
Wow. I'm just trying to think which way I might be.
Well, everybody can feel every feeling, right? Because we're a human being. But it's good to know your signature, because it just gives you a little bit of a hint of, oh, I'm not in alignment right now. What can I do to get back?
So going back to then the goals, if you're in alignment, one would imagine it would be easier for you to achieve your goals.
Yep.
But then also the fact is that knowing the way you are will mean that the goals mean different things to you. So that's back to what we were saying. It's got to be your goal.
Yes.
And if you're in alignment, then your goal won't be necessarily numbers and figures and hitting this target and that target.
Exactly.
Right. So what else? Oh, I'm going to ask you, have you got any big, hairy, audacious goals that you're working on at the moment?
I'm a projector, so my goal setting way of living is more about how I feel rather than actually having numbers. Because I think at one point a couple of years ago, I decided that I wanted to help 100 women come into alignment with human design. And yeah, I can still totally do that for sure. But honestly, for me, it is definitely more of a feeling. And for me, that feeling is successful, being successful. So today is almost like, how can I live in alignment to feel that success? Because I can definitely feel when I go into melancholy or self-worth maybe might dip, because I know from my design that I have inconsistent self-worth. When you know these things, it just makes it so much easier for you to navigate life. Because instead of going down into depression, thinking that you're not good enough and you've got imposter syndrome and all this stuff, you just know from my human design, I know that my self-worth is inconsistent. So therefore, I'll just ride it out. I'll just do something that does make me worthy. For me, talking to you right now, actually, can make me feel worthy. It's all about a feeling to me about that kind of thing. And I think also guiding generators and manifesting generators as well, because they can have success when I guide them, that's also a great feeling for me as well.
Yes.
So when someone comes to me and says, oh, I've hit this amount of money, or I've done this, or I've just landed my dream client, that's also a great feeling for me. So
on occasion you can live vicariously through their goals.
Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
Nice. I did have a question. It was in there and it's escaping me, but I'm sure it will come back. How long does it take? How long would the questionnaire be? As I say, I know that we're going to have the link. What is human design? So anybody that's interested in finding a little bit more about it in considerably more detail than we can go into, there's going to be that link available. But then there isn't a questionnaire. There isn't a questionnaire.
No questionnaire.
So I was going to say, how long does the questionnaire take? But no, what we need is that hour
10
a minute. The hour a minute of birth.
That's right.
So armed with that piece of information, then.
Yeah.
And now I'm a little bit frustrated with myself that I don't know it. But
frustration.
Frustration. Well, only because it's something I'd like to find out about. So, do you have a piece of software that you plug it into?
And actually, you can just get it. You can access your human design chart through a browser. There's several websites that do it. You just put your details in the website. So right now, if anybody's listening live and they want to find out what they are as they're listening to me, you can literally just Google "get my free human design chart" and something will come up. It might be Jovian Archive, it might be mybodygraph.com, and those websites will come up, and then you can get your human design chart in about 10 seconds flat. So
okay. But do you then get battered with information to buy new things and grade and right, here we go, here's your day, these are the things that you need to look out for daily over the next 365. Just send us 365 quid. It's only £1 a day equivalent, right? But of course, you're not going to do that, right? If they connect with you.
No, definitely not. So
I knew that was the case. I checked this lady out beforehand, people, right? If you want to delve into this, Charlie's the place to go.
No, that's not how my human design works personally. When you do go onto these sites, you don't have to enter your email address to get it. So instantly that you won't get marketed to, because they don't have your details. So when it says you put in your name and it says Charlie Garnham, they have no idea who Charlie Garnham is. You could put C if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. So no, you don't get that. Obviously on some websites there's a little bit of if you want to learn about this, then it's going to cost you $8 or things like that. But absolutely you can get it for free. And like I said, you don't get marketed to. With me personally, if you do want to have a little bit of a gander on my masterclass that I have, which is exactly what is human design, and I take you through to run your chart, how to understand what your type is, and also how to understand your decision-making process. I do have your email address, but honestly, I don't email you that often. So
no, we just find lovely people that are going to delicately steer you in the way of because it is all about, if it interests you, you'll get involved, you'll find out about it, and if it doesn't, then of course you won't, which is why I bring a wide variety of guests onto my podcast. So I'm going to ask you a question then, and I'm going to ask you, try not to touch on anything that we've touched on already, but if you were setting goals, what would be a Charlie golden nugget of information that people need to know about goals and goal setting that we haven't touched on already, according to Charlie Garnham?
Well, that's a difficult question because we have touched on a lot of it already.
Yeah, that's why I ask.
Yeah, it is. So I think really as an individual person, you want to sort of maybe take a look at the balance of masculinity and femininity in your being. We all have both masculine and feminine attributes to us, regardless of gender. And we'd want to have a look to see whether the feminine needs to come in a bit more or whether the masculine needs to come in a bit more. It depends what drives you. I can say that back in corporate, I definitely had a little bit of a masculine drive. It was more, have I hit my numbers, that kind of thing. Definitely as I come more into alignment, I'm definitely more feminine with that, which is why the feelings is more important sometimes than the masculine side of things. So you just need to have a look really when you're goal setting as to how masculine you want to be, how big you want to be. And if you are a woman who does want to go big, then great, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to worry about what other people are going to think of you just because you set a goal that a man might set. It's the same on the other side. Just because you're a man that set a smaller goal, you don't have to worry about the fact that that might be a little bit sort of, meat, things like that. So didn't include human design in that one, but that's just what came up.
That's perfect. We like that sort of stuff. And is there anything else that we might have skirted across and missed that's quite important that you need to bring out for the listeners?
So I guess really like when you understand your type in human design, and like I say, I do go into it in more depth in my masterclass, the next thing that you learn is your decision-making process. And this is definitely one of my favorite parts of human design, because again, it helps you to remove your mind and your ego mind out of decisions. So, a lot of us might go, okay, so I'm not sure whether to invest in this. I'm not sure whether to do this. And you might say, oh, but there's pros and cons, and logically I think I should, but I'm really not sure if I should. And human design decision making can actually help you to understand how you are designed to make decisions, and you can actually start listening to your body more rather than your mind. And the best part about that is that your body is so much more intelligent than your mind is, as it's all in neuroscience. I haven't dived into it properly yet, but your body, each cell of your body is much more intelligent than your ego mind.
Your added ego mind, so that's fair enough, because obviously I appreciate that we hardly use the vast resources in our brain that are available, sadly, and some use even less than others, which is incredibly sad. I'm just wondering if there's anything I can pull out of you before we bring this to a close. We're going to make sure, what is human design is available in the show notes so people can click into that. I see that you're on Instagram, so there must be a few bits and pieces. Again, we'll make sure that the details are in there. How much is your masterclass?
So the masterclass is free. That's the free one.
Right. So it's if you want to dive in a little bit deeper and actually get some real value out of that.
So like, obviously I can talk about all the different types and all the different elements of human design for hours and hours and hours, right? But if you don't know yourself and your nuances of your design, then it's not going to be very useful to you. So after my masterclass, I generally invite people to come and have a one-to-one reading with me, which is where I will interpret their chart and really sort of like dive deep into every nuance that they have in human design, so that they're not just learning about human design, they're learning about themselves and their true selves
within
as
the
well.
context of it. So folks, find out a little bit more about it on Charlie's website. Details are going to be in the show notes. I thought it would be interesting to bring in a different nuance of makeup of people in the world. A little bit of woo-woo, as I say, I'm getting more into that and accepting it. I have had, I think they call it a moon reading, but I don't know how accurate that was. That's how I knew that you get battered afterwards with, do you want to spend $365 and we'll tell you exactly what's going to happen and which lottery numbers you should be choosing. And it's not like that at all, folks. But anyway, so it's like finding something genuine is the important thing. It is interesting once you start looking at it, once you see yourself within the report that you've got, and then you understand how accurate it is, it becomes almost spooky. It's value to you. And then you have to understand and embrace it a lot more, because there are so many bits and pieces where it's like, well, how on earth could you have possibly known that piece of information about me from my date of birth?
It's crazy, but it's true.
Crazy, but it's true. So Charlie, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me on.
It's been a pleasure to find out a little bit more about this sort of stuff. And I'm going to have to try and contact my aunt on Facebook and see if there was any news going around, because I think I am the oldest of all of the children. So there's a good chance somebody somewhere might know what time I was born. But
at least roughly.
Roughly. So within an hour, would that be?
I think if you wanted to contact me after this and you said, oh, it was your time in the afternoon, then I could probably be able to rectify it for you.
That was the thing I was going to ask you, because you said rectify and you had 1400 hours and then it was like 1402.
Yes.
How did you rectify it to get it to 2 minutes at accuracy? Or is that secret?
It's not a secret. I think I was just using the human design system, but also working with an international human design school teacher who, which is where human design comes from. That's like the founder of human design. That's his school. I just kind of used the knowledge that she gave me to rectify my own time of birth to that very specific 2 minutes change. With other people, because of conditioning, I wouldn't necessarily be able to rectify it down to that specific time, but I can definitely tell you in between maybe 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, as an example. I'll maybe be able to tell you roughly where you are.
It's incredible. Charlie, thank you very much for joining me and for adding that last little bit on the end there. I really do appreciate it. Now, I've got to close us off here in the right order, because sometimes I mess up. So I'm going to stop us in Facebook. Cheerio, Facebook. Bye for now. We'll catch up again soon.